Labour wins 2 by-elections. Kier sounded underwhelmed. I think he knows that people are turning on him because he doesn't do anything. He's just a... I've used this before, I'll use it again. When Liz Truss was Prime Minister for about 3.5 hours and completely took the world economy with Kwasi Kwarteng, there was the lettuce and the dressed up as her, well, it had a wig on, and basically the question was asked, what would last longer, her being Prime Minister or this lettuce? To be fair, the lettuce did look a little bit, I wouldn't have eaten it, put it that way, by the end, but it did survive longer than Liz Truss. What we need to do now is get a lettuce, pour some water on it, put a grey wig on it, and we got Keir Starmer, because he is a wet lettuce. He tries to please people. If he thinks he's upset somebody, he completely changes his mind. It's like, you can't run a business like that. You cannot please all the people all the time. As soon as you change a policy, so you're like, right, we're going to do electric cars. Everything's going to be electric through the whole country. We're going to ban diesel. We're going to ban petrol. If you've got a petrol car or a diesel car, that's it. We're going to ban you. You won't be able to drive your cars. You won't be able to get the fuel because you need to go electric to save the planet, which is BS. But if say said that, and then someone went, oh well, but we like our petrol car. We can't afford an electric car. It'd be like, oh well. When I said that, what I meant was that's in an ideal world what we like to do. But to be fair, because we've got to get all this copper and stuff for the electric, to make the electric cables in the ground strong enough to charge all these cars up, and then we've got to get rid of all these batteries. What we're going to do is we're going to scrap electric cars completely. We're not going to bother with it. We're going to stick with the petrol cars and diesel cars because that's the way forward and it's safer for the planet. And then you get all the Green Party going, no, we can't do that. So you'd be like, yeah, you're right. So what we're going to do is we're going to ban all petrol and diesel cars and we're going to do electric only, but we're going to do it a different way. Instead of having all this copper under the ground everywhere, we're going to have little wind turbines over your house so you can actually charge your car up using wind power, because that's going to work and that's going to be brilliant. And the batteries we're going to recycle. I figured out a way of doing that. Then someone says, but it's not windy all the time, so how are we going to charge our cars up when it's not windy? Damn, you're right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ban wind turbines on houses, and we're not going to have electric cars because that's a stupid idea if you can't charge them up. So what we'll do is this is what a government under Labour under Keir Starmer is going to be like. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was in an EV this week. I mentioned it on my vlog. I was in an EV this week that you don't plug in. It's a non-plug-in EV, and it uses petrol to charge the battery. It's got a generator in it. It's a nice green van. You've got a generator which uses petrol that charges up the battery that then powers the wheels for the car to move. The engine, the generator, sorry, is not connected in any way to any moving parts of the mobilisation of the vehicle. It's only the electrics that do that. One thing I would say is, my God, it can accelerate. It's quite impressive the pull that one of these cars has from traffic lights and round corners and everything else. The good news is you'll be pleased to hear I have changed my underwear because I don't want to sit on this seat in soiled underwear. But yeah, it was an experience. But yeah, I mean that's what Keir Starmer's like. He flip-flops. Now that was an extreme example, but I think you get where I'm coming from with him. He just changes from one thing to the other and back again, and it's just so frustrating. The Prime Minister said it was a good result. It's like, right, okay then, Rishi, what are you on about? He said, yeah, losing 2 by-elections at this part of a government's term is not a bad result. And to be fair, they were losing by-elections before the last general election where Boris won, because a lot of people do vote against the incumbents in order to fire them a warning shot and say, look, if you want us to vote for you at the general election, you need to pull your finger out and sort things out. The Reform Party came third in both elections, which basically means the Greens, the Lib Dems and all the other parties, Independents, Monster Raving, Looney Party and all them, all got bumped down. On Saturday, the Scottish Labour Party, at their conference, called for an immediate ceasefire because, well, they can do that. They're a Scottish Labour Party, which is not the policy of the main Labour Party. Keir Starmer was in Munich and he was interviewed about this, and he said, well, yeah, we do want to pause in hostilities and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And Keir Starmer is back in the UK. In fact, he goes to the Scottish Labour Party conference. And then he says he's calling for an end in the fighting in Gaza. So basically, overnight, he's gone from, well, we need a ceasefire, to wanting to cease all hostilities. I mean, there are a few caveats. All the hostages have to be released. Well, if I held hostages and I was up against Israel, I probably wouldn't release hostages until I knew that Israel wasn't going to come in and do even worse than what they're doing now when I've got their people in my area. But yeah, Keir Starmer's grown a pair and actually made a decision. Of course, he'll now be told by people that he's now supporting Hamas and supporting a terrorist organisation, which they are, because he's saying that they should stop the fighting in Gaza, which means tomorrow he'll probably say that Israel needs to remain resolute in its ability to destroy Hamas. And it's unfortunate civilians are getting killed, but they need to do what they need to do, because that's how it works with Keir Starmer. You just change your mind every 5 minutes. Can you imagine going for a meal with Keir Starmer and you sat at the table and everyone gets a recipe thing? I've never been in a restaurant, I assume you get a recipe, and you have to choose what you want. God, you'd be there for fucking hours. You'd literally starve to death while he made his mind up about something. Should I start with the garlic mushrooms, or should I have the prawn cocktail, or should I go for the shrimps? Oh, I don't know, because if I go for the mushrooms, then people will say I'm vegetarian, and that'll upset the meat marketing boards. But if I go for the prawn cocktail, then people will say I'm living in the past, and I don't want people to think I'm living in the 1970s when prawn cocktails were cool. So but I like prawns, and oh, for God's sake. Labour grow a pair, and they say they will block anyone not fit to be an MP. That's their new policy. Surely to fucking God, that should be a policy from day one. From the first day Labour was set up. First thing we must do is the people who we put forward for MPs or councillors or whatever should be properly vetted. And obviously, as things have gone on, that vetting should have got more secure and more robust. But they've now decided that they will block anyone who is not fit to be an MP. So, see you, Keir. Bye, mate, because you're not fit to be an MP. El Salvador Mega Prison, visitors told don't look psychopaths in the eyes. Horrific conditions in a flagship mega prison have caused uproar from human rights groups, but a downturn in gang-related violence, and have seen the country's president soar in popularity. I agree with these places. We were talking about last week, or I was talking about last week, there were some people on death row complaining, in America, complaining that the new gas thing that they did for that guy a couple of weeks ago was inhumane, and they need to do something that's a little bit more human rights and respects their humanity. And I'm like, no, if you're being executed, you've carried out a murder, and there is a very, very strong chance you did carry out that murder. And if you've got the death penalty, one imagines that murder was horrific, be it a child, police officer, or just incredibly gruesome, or multiple people. So, if you commit a murder and you get the death sentence, my idea is you get executed by the method used that you murdered the people that you've got the death sentence for. So if that's poisoning, stabbing, shooting, starvation, beating, whatever, You're tied to a table, and the pain and the suffering that you inflicted on your victims is inflicted on you very slowly, very long period of time, and you pay the price for what you did. None of this humane stuff. Where was the humanity for the people you murdered? Doesn't exist. You should only get human rights if you act like a human, says Craig Ed 92. You are right, Craig Ed 92. And welcome, by the way. That's a name I'm not familiar with. So yeah, welcome. And these guys are the same. These guys are murderers. They are drug dealers. They are probably paedophiles and all the other disgusting people that you don't want around. So they've been put in this prison where they basically have no human rights whatsoever. They don't have clothes. They have to walk around in basically shorts or nappies even. They're not allowed to do anything. And crime rates have gone down because they're tough on crime. What do we do in Britain? We go, oh, don't do it again. Oh, don't worry about it. Well, you can go for parole soon if you want. I tell you what you can do. If you do off your sentence, we'll let you out. Meanwhile, in Russia, you go and fight in Ukraine for 3 weeks and we'll let you go. We don't care if you raped 15 children, strangulated 16 women and dissected 15 men. You can go out and you're free because you did that for us. No, you treat criminals hard and you treat criminals tough. If they're murderers and they get the death sentence, then they get killed by the method they killed whoever they murdered. And people like this, prisons like this, should be more around and about the world, not just in... I mean, why does it take someone like El Salvador to come up with this? Surely to God, you know, we know about this. Look at Borstal. That used to stop a lot of criminality from teenagers. Now it's like a fucking holiday camp. They've got snooker tables, they've got video games, they've got all this stuff. They've even got access to the internet. Okay, it's limited internet, but still got the access. No, you need to punish them and let them know that being a criminal, even if it's just shoplifting or stealing bikes or mugging someone or whatever, is punishable. And yeah, they just don't do it. But congratulations, El Salvador. We need someone like that in Britain, the rest of the world as well. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, teenagers and the youth think they're tough, but they've got nothing on seagulls. UK's town so rough that even seagulls are vaping. A seagull is a picture of a seagull with a disposable vape in its mouth, the right way around. So there you go then, that is it. So like I say, big shout out to everyone who's joined in the chat, big shout out for everyone who's watched, big shout out to Rollo, and I will see you all again next time. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, done it all. So I'll be seeing you. Until then, Kat's going to come now and ask for a stroke because I'm going to say the magic word, and she always does whenever I say this magic word.